The topic is distribution is broken and how hotels and suppliers are changing the game. All right, let's do some introduction first. First, thank you all for coming. My name is Bjorn. I'm the CTO of iko.travel. If you were here for Tim for the last talk, I'm the data scientist that he referred to. So this is going to be a technical talk, but also a kind of an industrial, what the industry is doing right now, to kind of talk. I have some very esteemed colleagues here. Fabian from Infinito, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, I'm Fabian. I'm the founder of Infinito, and Infinito has created Ivy. Ivy helps hotels make better decisions throughout their pricing, so we're optimizing the users, and as a result we have seen about a 5% increase in revenues and a 30% increase in productivity in the first month alone. Awesome. All right, Matthew, go.
Matthew from Swiss-Belhotel, sort of a medium-sized hotel chain globally, but mainly Asia, Middle East, and Australia, New Zealand. And I sort of oversee the e-commerce distribution, IT, and other random shit.
Excellent. This is going to be the good guy. Kevin, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm Kevin from WebConnection. We're a digital marketing company in Southeast Asia, and we work with many hundreds of hotels across the spectrum from 3-star to 5-star, basically providing them with all their distribution needs and online marketing needs.
All right, so this is a very quick agenda. We have very little time and we have a lot to talk about. So quickly, I think what you saw in the last talk was is exactly what's going on in the industry right now. We have some very, very big players, and we have a lot of suppliers who are all feeding these big players with data and with their inventory. And from someone coming in from the outside, these are veteran hoteliers, I'm a technologist, and from someone coming in and looking into this, the industry has built up over 30 years. It's very, very fragmented technically, which means it costs a lot of money to integrate a lot of systems, legacy systems. And also, there's a lot of suppliers who are now getting to trying to get to the digital age, right? You have hotels that in the past, their goal is to sell hotels offline, and they'll come to ITB and they make their deals with their travel agencies and get their room rates set up and the static rates and now the dynamic rates more and more as the OTAs flourish. And it's just, it becomes very, very difficult for someone in the hotel industry to also be professional on the ground at their hotel and at the same time online and having a digital persona. And this is what we're going to talk about today. So starting with Kevin, we have now, Kevin actually helps hotels to get online. Okay, so from hotels who have had no digital presence to someone who have an online presence, they have a booking engine, they're featured on the different OTAs. That's what Kevin comes in and helps them out with. So Kevin, your first question is, who are your customers and what are some of your daily challenges getting them to sell rooms online?
Well, as I said before, we have a very broad spectrum of customers, several hundred of them across Southeast Asia. Daily challenges, and as per the previous discussion that was just up here, I think all of those big players are doing their bit for driving business online, and I think they've all spent a lot of time, effort, research, and money building their platforms, which I think is great. Our daily challenge comes in with their ethics and how they distribute those rates. That would be my biggest challenge on a daily basis with hotels.
All right. And actually, to follow up on that, what do you think works really well right now for your customers and for you?
Well, there's no doubt about it. The OTAs are working well for our customers.
Yep.
And obviously their direct business as well. But the challenges, as I say, remain the distribution of their rates. That is the daily challenge that every hotel is facing. The constant battle with, and I'm not going to mention names, but the constant battle with all of them, where all of a sudden the discount is applied, where, oh, sorry, we switched that on by mistake. Oh, sorry, we added this on, we added that on. And the hotels have no control over the rates that are being distributed.
Okay. Fabian, with your background in connecting hotels to an RMS and showing them how to sell rooms with more insight. What are the daily challenges of your hotel customers while trying to sell rooms online?
We have to be honest, it's a bit of a clusterfuck out there, okay? When you look at a distribution landscape, you were very polite with what is happening. Where it becomes tricky is you want to help somebody drive better revenues, essentially. We want to help. Our revenue management system is designed to make you more money. You will have a lot of vendors out there that say, okay, here are the 100 models. And the reason they have 100 models is because none of them actually works every time in every case. So that puts us into the user. And all of a sudden, the user has to sit there and go like, so I'm now the guy that has to figure out which one is the right one and which one is the wrong one. So I got to validate the stuff that you are doing. So that's a big challenge, because all of a sudden, you're sitting in your office and you have to validate what some data scientist did somewhere. And I don't know about you, but can I see the hands here, please, for any kind of PhDs in data science in the room? No, I think if we're going through the hospitality industry, we find a very little of it, right? And yet we're tasked to do those things, right? So in that case, we're then the helping hand to figure out, oh, but the model was wrong, you should have picked it up. But on the other hand, we're very easily telling our consumers, not our consumers, our users, to then say, but you're equally the weakest link because you just don't get it. No, that's true, I'm not a PhD, right? You're supposed to help me make better decisions. We haven't even touched that once I decide on that rate that goes out there, it could end up somewhere else. I'm working with somebody in Italy at the moment, and we are working on a white paper to really look at what kind of cheeky tricks are people doing, or the distribution partners doing, without the hotels actually knowing. And we found one hotel that 12 different rates, depending on which VPN we logged in, which discount was applied across the distribution landscape. We even found on the same device being served 3 different rates at exactly the same time. And you can't then bring it down to IP address, because I'm sitting there and I'm just having 3 different browsers open with different things ticked, and all of a sudden some of the rates never appear. How do you want a user in the hotel to say, oh, that's a piece of cake? So that's a big challenge.
So basically you're saying that the hotel lost complete control over their rates.
No, I think they're having the right intention, pushing that rate out there, right? But what happens to that rate then is a completely different story. And I think the feedback loop of then saying like, hang on one second, that rate, it can't be that in 2019, to figure out who's screwing with you, you got to do a test booking. I mean, that's unreal. I can order a taxi in Malaysia right now, but yet have to do a booking to figure out who screwed with me. Impossible.
Thank you. Matt, being responsible for a larger portfolio of hotel brands, what are your daily challenges with selling rooms online?
My challenges kind of mirror the others here. I mean, my objective is to maximize my room revenue every day. And doing that, I have to do that with my various sales channels, and the online channels are a massive percentage of this. Don't get me wrong, I mean, I love the online wholesalers and the online OTAs. They have given my hotel chain global reach to their customers. But on the backside of that, I work with them every day. I put my rates out to them every day, and a lot of the time they work okay with me. We're a medium-sized hotel chain. They perhaps don't screw with us as much as smaller hotels, to tell you the truth. But I'm watching them every day, and every once in a while, 1, 2, 3 of them, just for some reason turn into crazy meth-addicted crack monkey throwing feces and vouchers and discounts everywhere, and I have to work out what's going on. And then the other one sees that and goes, you know what, he's doing that, I'm going to turn into a crazy crack monkey and mirror the discounts, and I'm left trying to sort out this shit. So, yes, it's out there, but yes, there has to be a way to manage this. Monitoring is part of the solution, but honestly, it would be better if the hotels also had a better carrot and maybe baseball bat to try and manage these solutions and manage the distribution better.
What should a role at the hotel be to just look after these rates, or should that be? It should not have to be that way. Does every hotel needs to be able to monitor everywhere what happens to their rates?
Yeah, and it shouldn't have to be that way. I mean, they used to blame the static rates, but not all of our hotels, but many of our hotels are dynamic only, and we still see those issues even on dynamic rates because all our partners are getting different commissions and approaching things in different ways.
All right, so that you can see everyone has a very, very specific opinion on hands-on the digital landscape of working and trying to sell inventory online. So Fabian is also, I mean, he's worked very heavily with hotels on the RMS side, right? But he's also created Infinito, which is a tool for RMS that is supposed to help hotels with their rates. Can you explain a little bit about how it is to, how does Ivy solve some of these problems? And also, as a tech vendor startup, how difficult is it to create something new in this industry? So I'm sure you can...
Okay.
Yeah.
So the reason I created Ivy is very simple. I got really fed up with constantly blaming the user, right? It's always a user.
And the user in your mind is, sorry?
Pardon?
Who is the user in your mind?
The user, the revenue manager, whoever makes pricing decisions in a hotel, right? And it's not that we're all idiots in the industry. All we want to know is, okay, I'm looking at all of that, but what am I supposed to do right now? I just don't know, right? He's lucky, he has a couple of revenue managers. Other hotels employ you to do that. But there's a vast majority that don't have that, or even worse, they have been promoted into a position thinking they're doing the right thing, but somebody was just graciously enough giving them that title. So we're focusing on tracking the user's conscious and subconscious decisions. And therefore we understand what makes you tick. And if we know what makes you tick, a bit like in couples therapy, we figure out what's wrong, and then we kind of both agree on it, and then we can make you better, right? So we're optimizing the user, and that helps in a complexity environment, so where you have revenue management systems, but equally in a non-complexity environments where you have Excel sheets.
So tell me a little bit about, since you're a startup, and you're starting up in tech, how is it to get your,
It's difficult. The first thing that hotels go like, oh, I would really like to work with you. Okay, what is your tech stack? And you already get a certain PMSs, channel managers, whatever they might have. And if you want to have the integration, it's impossible. We have we're here part of the Singapore Tourism Accelerator program by the Singapore government. And one of the startups is really just trying to get a connectivity to a major channel manager. And the channel manager turns around and says like, give me 10,000 hotels. And then I connect you to my platform. So it's kind of like you're passing on the baseball bat. And from a collaboration perspective, we all want to try and talk the talk of how we innovate. But when it comes to it, there's a lot of barriers and silos in the industry that need to be broken. We can only drive better if we are, as a community, deciding that we want to move forward. But with the fragmentation, I mean, even here in Asia, there's 700 different PMS.
Yeah, exactly.
If an integration takes you a month or two to build that, crikey, you need shitloads of cash.
So barrier to entry, very, very high.
It's extremely high.
Yeah.
So a lot of innovative products are killed right off the bat doing that. And we need an ecosystem where we actually say, you know what, let me just plug and play. And I don't think marketplaces are the answer, because that's just confusing the hell out of everybody. But it's really bringing it in and saying like, what can we do together in order to help hotels? We're here to help hotels.
Yeah.
But we as tech vendors also need help to help the hotels.
Correct. Matt, if I can ask you, what are the real costs of doing business in a digital world for you, direct versus OTA, if those are your two channels?
I mean, I think in general for smaller hotels, the average OTA cost is around about 17% in commission, and for direct business, I would say when you add up all the costs and so forth, it probably comes in around about somewhere between 8 and 12%, to tell you the truth.
Okay.
That high, when you take into account salaries and things like that. Though all of that is a little bit mixed up, because your website kind of drives OTA business kind of drives your website. Everyone's kind of like marketing each other. in some ways. But yeah, I would say direct business is cheaper, but not that cheap when you take into account all the work you have to put in there.
That was actually a really good numbers that you quoted there. That's the best one I've heard so far. Kevin, what do you tell your customers, your hotel customers right now, to be more profitable online? What is your go-to solution?
Close your hotel and open up a different business.
So very difficult.
No, I mean, in all honesty, obviously, as we just found out, the cost of a direct booking, whilst it's not free and it's not cheap, it is still cheaper than some of the big players working on the OTAs. So every booking you can get direct will go directly to your bottom line. That's not to say that you can't work with the OTAs or that you shouldn't work with the OTAs. Obviously, they offer you a huge value. They spend a lot of their own money acquiring those customers, so you have to work with all of them. But the best way to improve your profitability would be to try and get as much of your bookings direct, because that's going to be the lesser of the costs.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to move on. So one of the things that we're going to talk about today is, and this is kind of why we're here. So you all know about Amazon. How many of you have heard of Shopify? Okay, quite a few. This is the analogy that I want to give today. Amazon is a silo. It's been around for a really long time, and it's doing really, really well. It's probably the top 4 most profitable businesses in the world. Shopify is a platform offering up the same tools to Amazon that Amazon does, but it allows you, the brand, to sell online on your own terms, right? If you are an Amazon seller, you will know that there's certain pros and cons to working with Amazon. There's also pros and cons to working with Shopify. So for example, with Amazon, the brand is Amazon's, okay? The customer is Amazon's. And the rules around selling are Amazon's. On Shopify, if you have the digital know-how, and you have a good brand, and you have a good marketing team, you can do really, really well, because you'll be selling through your own channel online, and Shopify will give you the tools to do so. And you can be really, really profitable. So this is the analogy I want to give and start with, because this has not been applied to travel yet. Right now, you can see that the last speakers here up on stage, they all had their platforms. They all mentioned platform at least one time. Platform is definitely where we're going and what is important right now. But it's a platform within the silo. It's a platform within Amazon, which means they own your customer, or they own the customer in the case of if you're a hotel. They will own the data, and there's certain pros and cons. So here we're going to actually come and say, what if there was a Shopify version within travel? What would that look like? So this is the old silo, and I'm not saying it's working wrong or bad, or they're bad or anything. I'm saying this is the silo. We're all feeding the silo with data as suppliers, as hotels, and experience vendors, etc., including bed banks, and we get bookings back from the silo. Okay. Now the analogy to that is the platform effect, and we're not going to play the video here because we can't hear the audio. The platform effect is basically, think of ride sharing, for example. What did ride sharing do to the taxi monopolies around the world? Also, very, very small organizations that had a lot of power. They owned most of the transportation. And Uber came in, Lyft came in, Grab came in, Gojek came in, and they said, you know what? We're going to democratize the driver. We're going to make everyone the driver. Now, for example, I've lived a very long time in New York, and the New York City taxi monopolies, they got completely busted apart. A medallion used to cost $750,000 to own, and now it's almost worthless because everyone is using Uber. So the question is that I'm going to be asking these colleagues of mine is, what happens if we actually democratize travel inventory and make it available everywhere and give people the same kind of tools that Shopify customers have now, and we give them to experienced vendors, we give them to hotels? What will happen then? And the travel supply doesn't just get sold on Booking, Agoda, on the different silos. It gets available everywhere. That's kind of where we want to start the question here, the discussion. So, Fabian, as a travel tech startup, how would submitting Ivy and how would Ivy work on a travel platform, app store, and how do you think that would help hotels like?
Let me address it slightly different. For me, travel is a bit like Tinder. Okay, I'm sure we all know Tinder, or at least we know what swiping left means. There's only a couple of things that are required, right? So democratizing travel is great. I mean, we have seen it in other industries. That's fantastic. But you need the right time and the right place for it. Airbnb, best example, right? Came out somewhere around the time of the recession, right? If I would have asked you a year earlier or 2 years earlier when it was booming, hey, there's this weirdo who wants to crash on your couch, you would have slapped me in the face. You would have said, that's stupid.
I think that's couchsurfing.com you're talking about.
Couchsurfing, okay, yeah. But we can't forget that ultimately, and you mentioned it, is at the moment the consumer is deciding how they're getting to you, right? So while we're giving a platform in order to make that better for hotels, and I'm all for it, the consumer at the end needs to be able to actually be the one deciding to adopt that and push that in favor of hotels. And with the monopolies that are currently happening, we really need to start changing the consumer's mindset to say, there's a reason why hotels are wanting you to go direct, for example, right? Me as a consumer, do I use Booking.com, Expedia and all that stuff? Absolutely. Do I use Wigo for my flights? Hell yeah, because it saves me money, but the shift needs to come into, if I use those platforms, everybody needs to win. Only if we're creating a win-win-win-win situation will we change our behavior. Otherwise, some players in the industry just don't have a benefit from joining that.
Yep. Kevin, if we had such a platform, travel inventory is available everywhere. You're helping consulting hotels. How do you think that would help a company such as WebConnection?
Well, it's going to help the hotels in the sense that they'll be not having all the eggs in one basket, right? So if inventory is available everywhere and having a much wider spread, there's going to be more competition. Customers can choose where they want to book. And I think that's going to benefit the hotel in the long run, because at the moment, the hotels are relying extremely heavily on 3 or 4 big OTA players, and that's where the problem comes in.
Yep.
Not that they can't produce the goods, because they are producing the room nights, but it's at what cost to the hotel?
Yep. This one actually is a question for any one of you. So by introducing something like Shopify to travel, and we're giving it to hotels who are already not technically savvy enough to be on top of it right now, Shopify requires you to have more extensive digital experience online. How is that going to work out, and how is that going to play out, you think, with hotels? They get the tools, they have the option of getting out there. Is it going to be possible?
Adoption is the biggest problem in technology.
Yeah.
Right?
It's possible, but it's
fantastic
going to
tools,
take. It's
correct.
not going to happen overnight.
Yep.
Definitely not. Even with a simple booking engine today, it takes a hotel time for them to learn how does this work, and it's a continual coaching of the hotel.
Yep.
And that's where companies like ourselves come in, where we are basically holding their hand and talking them through. This is how you do this. This is how you do that.
Yep.
So the tools are great, but it's the adoption of that tool that's going to be the biggest headache.
Yep. We're actually already running out of time. We started a little bit late. So I actually want to get a hands-on insight from Matt, who runs hotels every day. So let's say, Matt, you're upper hotel. You already have a team of people who know how to work on the digital, in the digital realm. You get new tools as a hotel brand, hotel chain. How would you look at introducing this into your portfolio, into your channels? What are your thought process around that?
First, it's basically, is it going to do what it promises? Either review the tool, talk to existing customers, play around with the tool, trial it for a while, see what we can do. First thing. Second thing is the other basics of like, will it integrate into my existing tool set? If it can't integrate, I'm screwed. Third thing is, does it have the necessary IT setup and data protection protocols? Once all of that's in place, then basically the internal teams check it out, see, can it increase my business? Will it build my business? Can I get a competitive advantage out of this and use this tool? If so, then we would move down the line of using it. That's basically our approach on most things.
Are you always looking for news channels? Or is it what would it take to go, oh, this is something new, I want to try it out? Are hotels desperate enough to look at new channels, or again, adoption? It comes back to adoption.
We're always looking for ways to optimize and improve our business. But it has to be something that actually does look good and looks like it can deliver. Otherwise, we can't spend time looking at a million tools out there, because there are a million tools that people are throwing at you.
Guys, I'm sorry, we don't have time for QA. If you guys have questions for any of us, please come up to the stage on the side and ask us. Get in touch, iko.travel. We are platform builders, and that's exactly what we're doing, what we're talking about right now. And these guys are all working with us. And so as a hotel, I would say it's a very exciting, cautiously optimistic, it's a very exciting future in travel tech. And with that, guys, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.